Vernomatic Productions.
Are you ready?
Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are gold. We are gold.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, John the Vernomatic Verno, and direct from New Jersey, Metal Walt.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, and of course, staying healthy. Here we are, find ourselves in November, right in the middle of the start of the holiday season. And this week, we have a good one. Our boy, Metal Walt, went out and did a little heavy metal homework. And he comes around with an interview tonight with lifelong hard rock and heavy metal musician Marco Mendoza. Walt, tell us this story. This is a fascinating story of how you hooked this interview, and the whole backstory about Marco. What do you got for us, man?
So Marco Mendoza is not a guy that comes to mind when you think of, rock stars. But, when I met him backstage at, opening for Graham Bonnet back in the spring, he's very unassuming and approachable. I mean, he said, "Hey, Walt, here's my cell phone number. We don't need to go through press people and everything. When you're ready, set it up." When I talked to him, he was in a hotel room in Italy after a long day of work in between tour dates, and he was going into the studio after he dedicated his hour to me. But what we love about this guy is he hasn't had the easiest journey. He's had his highs and lows, both, personally and professionally, all the things that rock stars face. But he's made this career helping out and backing and being an important part of bands like Blue Murder and Ted Nugent and Whitesnake and Journey and, as a solo artist, and the list goes on and on and on. He shares some fascinating stories about what it's like to be around these people. He was really, really close with John Sykes. He shares some insight about what it was like towards the later part of his career, including his death. And he just tells us how he's been doing it 40 plus years later and how he continues to enjoy it and still make a career out of this. And like I said, it's one of these ones where you want to root this guy on. And he's just got a great story from a human interest point of view that I think all of our listeners will love.
I learned a lot when I was editing this interview. I didn't realize that Marco was involved in so much, so many bands, so many projects, and the extent of his career. Great job. Look forward to hearing more on this guy. Again, I want to invite you to get up to our headquarters, metalmayhemroc.com. Sign up for the newsletter to receive alerts for new podcast episodes, YouTube interviews. While you're there, check out the merch store. Tons of cool merchandise there. Hoodies, hats, phone cases, t-shirts, drink tumblers. And listen, if you like what you're hearing, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. Drop us a quick review and help others find the show. Recent episodes last week, we had Bobby Blitz of Overkill celebrating 40 years of the debut album by Overkill, Feel the Fire. 2 weeks before that, Doro Pesch discussing her new EP. 3 weeks ago, Mariah Wynn of Envy and None. And tons of other episodes, interviews. All of these are available at the website, metalmayhemroc.com. All right, let's fire this up. Marco Mendoza sharing what it's like to be a lifelong working musician in hard rock and heavy metal. For my co-host, Metal Walt, I'm the Vernomatic, and we are Metal Mayhem ROC.
So today's guest is one of those unsung heroes of rock and roll that we love to root on. He's a guy who does it all. He sings, he plays bass, and he travels all over the world. And he needs his own encyclopedia to cover his rock and roll resume. We know him best from his time in Blue Murder, Ted Nugent, Thin Lizzy, Whitesnake, and as a solo artist. Marco Mendoza, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. It's good to be here. I'm great, actually. Busy as ever. When I hear that introduction, I'm going, "Oh wow, I did all that. I was part of that."
That's just a sampling.
Yeah, I know. I'm very lucky. I'm one of those guys, man. I'm very privileged, and I treat it as such, with a lot of respect and and yeah, I've had a great journey. It's been one of those things that year after year, just all these things start happening that really surprised me in a good way, and then then you have to kind of go, well, maybe I am doing something right here. But it's been great, man. It's been.
I know it is. And you know what? You are one of those guys that, as a fan, we're so intrigued about because, here we are. We met in the lobby in the Sellersville Theater in May. You were opening up from the Graham Bonnet Band. We talked. We swapped contact information, right? And then you were ready to head off to Europe. And then I was looking at, like your schedule. So you did in May, you did solo shows in in Europe. Then you jumped over to the full Satriani Steve Vai tour. You came back and did more solo shows in Sweden. And then you got more shows coming up this month, next month, UK, Germany, So I'm always curious for a guy like you, like, how do you manage being away from home this long? Like, how do you juggle your personal life, your, whatever, your family life, your kids, your dogs, your house?
I know we just lost our little dog buddy, but
sorry to hear that.
Yeah. You know what it is, man? I've been doing this and I'm being totally honest. I'm going to talk from the heart. I've been doing this for so long that the opposite would be contrary to what you believe and you think that it must be tough. The opposite is when I feel like a fish out of water because I got a little taste of that during the pandemic and I'm going, wow, what is going on here? The thought of never playing live, never meeting other people and connecting, it just freaked me out. So I embrace it, man. I sometimes have to say, I might even do too much at one given time because I get a little toasty around the edges, if you know what I mean. Physically, emotionally, I get a little fried, but as soon as music starts, it's like I'm in another headspace. But I have people around me. I have my family who know this person, the touring musician. They don't know any other persona. So my wife is amazing. I got to give her a lot of credit for taking care of the homestead and the kids and all that. And one of the advantages of doing what I do, I get to travel a lot. I bring the family along every so often, dude. They dig that. So there's a lot of benefits. Yes, I miss, I was just thinking a few days ago, I was talking to Leah, my wife, and I was saying, I'm getting a little beat up. I start getting lonely and you want to be home. The weather here is, I'm grateful to be anywhere working, doing music, being creative, but the weather here is really hot. And I got to say, being from California, for me to say that, it's got to be something extraordinary. It is very hot, very humid. It drains you. You're like, where's the beach? Where's the lake? Where's the river? I want to, get in some water, but unfortunately nothing close by. But we're winding down. After tomorrow, I think we're going to be finished with this project. But to answer your question is, I try to remember, keep things in context. I try to remember that kid when they picked up the guitar at 12, 13 years old in the garage at home in Tijuana, Mexico, which is where I grew up. And I learned 2-3 chords. All my hopes and dreams of playing music started cultivating, and the more you played, the more you loved it, the more you had ambitions and all that. So I remember those years and I remember that time, and it gives me a point of reference to be grateful. I call it the attitude of gratitude. The attitude of gratitude because I'm grateful. Of course, like anybody else, I could focus on all the negative, the travel. My legs beat me up, my back, my this, my la, 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 la. But, I've been in the studio recording this amazing album with some amazing musicians, the new Iconic album. And I got to tell you, I'm so excited to be part of a project like that. It's amazing, man. It's a bunch of talented guys writing some beautiful, beautiful music. And Michael Sweet, Joel Hostra, Tommy Aldridge, Nathan, James singing, and yours truly here playing the bass and doing a bunch of stuff. Then we have a great producer, and it should be out hopefully by next spring, February, March. So look out for it for your listeners. But man, I just take it in with the stride. I do what I have to do. And I will say this, if I could change anything, and I've had this conversation many times, you can imagine, if I could change things, I would say I would cut the travel in half, right? I will double or triple my time on stage of being creative or playing music. And I would magnify the payment 10 times fold. That would be a better world. Of course, that's the other conversation we can have about how the industry has changed so much in the past 10 years, even the past 5-6 years.
I bet. So as of right now, as the time we're talking, you are in Italy, correct?
Yes. And it's 7:51 p.m.
Now, when you said you were recording, you were doing some work in the studio with the Iconic guys, are they all there, or are you just doing parts on your own for the project?
I'm doing my parts. I'm laying down the bass.
Okay.
It's what happens these days, because everybody's all over the world, literally, and with the class of these, the level of these guys, they're busy like I am. We're all scattered, and to really try to put the guys together in the studio, it's really hard. It's getting more and more complicated and more expensive, and we all have other interests or commitments, prior commitments. So the scheduling thing is insane, man. So the best thing to do is, the guys write the songs. I'm not involved in the writing at all. And they write the songs, and they send me the files. I listen to the songs. I make my notes. I go in there, record, and hopefully come up with some cool stuff. The songs sound amazing, man. It's all about the songs. It's all about the songwriting, and as a supportive part of that constellation, as a bass player, I'm there to support the lyrics, the melody, the singer, the soloist. And, you've got Michael Sweet singing beautifully, Nathan James singing beautifully, and Joel, playing his amazing guitar. Tommy Aldridge, of course, as a bass player, doesn't get any better. But I'm also coming off the Satriani tour and, playing with another favorite drummer of mine, another friend of mine, Kenny Arnoff, who is another beast. It's just great, man. So I'm very lucky. Doing interviews is good for me, Lance, because I get to see a mirror, if you will. Just the introduction. You were so kind and so cool about it. It made me feel, okay, I'm doing something right here. Let's keep going. Forget about all the bad stuff. Forget that I'm lonely, that I'm tired, that I'm this and I'm that. Let's just, strap our boots on and keep going, because obviously there's something good going on here. So I'm grateful for that. And that's how I deal with it. It's a long answer.
That's a good answer. And I'm happy to see that, because I was going to say, yeah, I mean, most musicians say, yeah, those 2 hours on stage are the best part. It's the other 22 hours a day that are tough. But for somebody like you, because I think of, let's go back to the Graham Bonnet tour, right? You were using Graham's, some of the Graham's guys, Corrado Passado on guitar and his group, they were backing you. But when you do your own solo shows, let's say in Europe and maybe South America or wherever you're playing, is that kind of how it works? You have regional guys that you kind of pick up along the way? How does that whole thing work out?
It started happening more and more and more. And I got to say, out of necessity, but it's worked for me, because I have discovered some very talented cats, man, all over the world that you would never hear about. But because in my travels, I get to hear and I scout people. I'm always listening. And I'm one of those guys. I'm a social butterfly, if you will. When I'm on any given tour, I'll go out and listen. If I have a day off, I'll go out and listen to the local talent and bands and music and all that. And I plug in and we stay in touch. And that's turned out to be to my advantage, because I get invited to be part of their projects. I invite them to be part of mine and all that. But yeah, logistically, and what we were talking about earlier, budget-wise, it's getting a little tougher, especially for me. I have to say, my solo project, believe it or not, it's at the sophomore stages. I'm a beginner. Even though I've been doing this for 85 years. only because I haven't really dedicated the time and or the energy and focus to build it. This is something that happened, to be honest, a little more focus in 2019 when we took a break from the Dead Daisies. I had a new album out in Viva La Rock, and to my surprise, I started getting invited. Come here, come there. We have some kids come play at our festival. In 19, which we were in the process of looking for a new singer because John Karabi bailed. I had time to do that. And to my surprise, I was really happy, man. I ended up doing 100 and something shows that year on my own, So yeah, I'm at the grassroots. I'm playing little clubs. Sometimes I play some festivals. I get invited to play in theaters every so often. I get invited to open up for national, international labs, and I'm just moving, Lance. I'm moving forward. And that's what I tell myself. As long as I keep moving inch by inch forward, I'm okay. It's not as quick as I would like it to be, but I'm good, man. So yeah, the answer to your question, a long answer like now, is when I used to bring my players travel. Think about this. You got 3-4 people traveling to Europe. The expense. Now, a lot of these cats that I worked with back in even 5, 6, 10 years ago, they would love to bring their own gear. So now you add on expense. And, the bigger the group, the more expensive it is. And then on the other side, you don't have the income or enough dates to support the thing. So, I'm okay financially. Thank God. I've been working my whole life and I'm very comfortable. But at some point, if you're a businessman, which I'm working at it still, you have to draw the line and say, okay, you can't just keep pouring money out. So, it's worked out for me, and I have had some of the best experiences, I have to say, Lance, with all these new cats all over the world. I've met people from Croatia, from Serbia, from Italy, from England, from Scotland, in Denmark, in Sweden. I mean, on and on and on and on. In South America. I saw you guys in the US. I was in South America. And I recruited through some friends, best musicians down there. I mean, great players, man. I was really impressed, to be honest. Their spirit, their heart and soul, they're so into it that I love it. It is a little more work for me to rehearse the players, but at the end of the day, it's just fun. It's the challenge. I'm up for the challenge. As long as I stay healthy, I'm all right. And like I said, we keep moving forward inch by inch. It's all good. So yeah.
With all of that said, I always think now it's funny. Ironically, I interviewed Glenn Hughes last week for his new album coming up. So we were talking about the Steve Vai tour because Satriani tour because he sang on the first single, but he's another guy like you where probably his fan base is a lot bigger outside of the States. Although we're Americans, right? Yes. You have a bigger following there. What do you attribute that to? Like, you're playing all over the place. I was looking at your schedule, the UK, Germany, like, who are your fans and how did they find you being an American artist and support you over there? Because I'm guessing you're doing your own bookings. You're probably, a do-it-yourself guy, right? You're booking your tours, getting your musicians lined up, and then everything has to be planned out, right? Yes, absolutely. And you can imagine what the work that is, man. And I wish I could have it. I wish I could have somebody I trusted and can connect it with to take care of me. But I've had a hard time finding the right person there, management. And so, yeah, I do all the work. It's okay, man. At the end of the day, I have the satisfaction of saying, I used to wait around, and still you wait around for people to say, we want to work with you. Okay, cool. You sit around, you wait at home, and you're waiting. A month goes by, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. And then if you don't reach out to them, they don't
get in touch with you, and you're like, and these are legit agencies, right? Agents. These are people that's what they do. And you reach out, you say, so what's going on? What do we have for this year? Oh, we have to check. We'll get back to you. In the meantime, this is March, April. The year's over. If all the best gigs have been booked already. The reason why I have more opportunity is because I've been coming here since 92, 93 with some pretty amazing projects. You named a few. And most recently, with Satriani and Vi, we were doing some big venues, and I got to sing a little bit, which is great. I love that. And so that kind of features you, and then people start getting in touch. Oh, we did what you do. We did your songs. They go in, you go on Marco Mendoza official, and they discover, oh, wow, he's got his own catalog of music. We'd love to hear it. Let's invite him to come play. It's as simple as that. It's the word of mouth. And now with social media, it's you're more available, more accessible. It's a lot of work, bro. And I take it again because it's a privilege and it's a gift, and I do what I have to do. But sometimes second, it's a little overwhelming. So I'll complain, and then I'm reminded that this is privilege. There's a lot of cats out there that are not playing as much as you are. They're not working as much. They would love to be in your shoes. Human nature, all we have to do when we think we're going through a hard time, we just need to look to the left, a little bit to the right, and then you get that attitude of gratitude that I was talking about, and that keeps me going. That's my fuel, bro. So my wife is the one that hears it all. When I complain, and then she'll say 2-3 words and bring me down. So remember how lucky and how fortunate and how blessed you are to be doing what you're doing still after so many years. And look at this. Look at all this work. So, the European thing is because of that, because I've been coming there once, twice, 3, 4 times a year, every year for a long time. In the US, it started slowing down. The last run I did with Graham was amazing. We're talking about doing some more. We're working on it. But before that, I think I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. I mean, I've toured some big ones with Whitesnake, with Thin Lizzy, with Black Star Riders, with Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries, with Journey, most recently. I mean, these are massive gigs, but you get lost in the shuffle. People don't know who is in the lineup. That's another fact. They know the music, they know the characters, but this new guy, who's that guy? It doesn't matter. Listen to the song, listen to the music. That's all that matters. So the solo thing is part of me, is my calling card, saying, hey guys, listen, I also write songs, I produce, I sing, and I front my own band. Come join us. Come hang out with us, So, and it's been working. And I will say this, every show I do it, and I don't like to be pretentious in any way or boastful in any way, but every show I do, it's fun. I make sure that we all have a blast, the audience including. So that's it. You carry a little message of optimism. You try to focus on the good things in life and shed some light in the dark world that we live in sometimes. And then people remember you and you get invited back. That's it. So it's pretty simple, but again, it's a privilege and I'm lucky to be in it still. So I deal with it like that.
I hear you. It's a great attitude to have, Marco, because I remember during the Graham Bonnet show, his partner and bassist.
That was a great joint, great gig, man.
Fantastic sound.
Great
but
venue.
Bethany, his bass player and his spouse or girlfriend or whatever comes up and says, you guys don't want to miss Marco. He brings it. And you know what, Marco, I'd seen you in some of your bands, the bigger bands you've played in, but I hadn't seen you solo-wise. And my buddy and I we were like, oh my God. Like we walked out of there after that hour set and we're like, my God, it's high. I called it high-fueled, energetic, upbeat, melodic rock, which made me go take out. I went and took out Viva La Rock in New Direction this weekend when I was driving around. I was playing them in the car, and I was like, oh my God, like there is some fantastic stuff on these albums because it's not just rock. You tap into that funk, little Latino roots, your soul, a little bit of blues in there, and even your vocals. Like, I try not to do comparisons to vocalists, but when I heard your voice, I said, oh my God, I hear Mark Farner of Grand Funk Railroad, and I hear
I'm
Joe
a big
Walsh.
fan.
And
Awesome,
Joe Walsh.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Big
It's
fan.
just that maybe that's the range, but it's one of those things where I think this is why you've been such an MVP for the last 30 years in so many of the high-profile bands, Marco, because not only you're kicking ass on bass, and you're a background singer, and you're a lead singer. Like, who wouldn't want you in their band? Let's be honest.
Yeah. And I tell every time I do, I'll do master classes, whatever, for lack of better words, or clinics, whatever they call them. It's just a meet and greet for me, and I play a little bit, and I talk about that. I talk about if you're an aspiring bass player or a guitar player, whatever instrument you're playing, do yourself a favor if you're at the beginning stages and learn to sing. I will tell you, it'll open up a lot of opportunities for you because they'll hire, the bigger projects will hire somebody that can sing BVs or sing and have, that's an extra tool that you add to the mix. So yeah, I started getting calls specifically because of that, to be honest. And so I was featured a lot like that here and there. And yeah, I had this yearning, man. I call it a fire in my belly that I had to just be my own artist and write my own songs, tell my own story a few years back. And I'm glad I'm doing it. I really am, because I get a lot of satisfaction. It's not an easy road to take on, man, especially now, since we're going through all these changes. But the rewards, the rewards are amazing. And spiritually speaking, because I am a spiritual person, I walk away with a glass full, bro. Every gig I go, yeah, my back hurts, my legs, I got a headache, and the joint wasn't very nice. But look, you touched a few people and they came over. I always do a meet and greet. I always say and thank you. And it never fails. It comes, Marco, thank you so much. You put a smile on my face. And that makes my month, man. The positive energy as I can, I got sober and my life changed, lads. I got sober on September 20th of 87 by the grace of God. And I have to say that, yeah. And, that'll be 38 years of September.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'll tell you, I got slapped around so much. I have some stories that are so dark where I came from, that all this is a plus. All this is a gift, man. And so I try to remember that too. When it starts getting a little cloudy in my head and you want to get a little dark, I remember that. I remember where I came from. And the attitude of gratitude, brother. It's overwhelming. It takes over and it gives me all the answers to all my problems. And that's it. But it's a privilege to do what we do. You probably play yourself, don't you? Of course you play guitar.
I don't. I'm actually not a musician. I'm not a musician at all.
You're not.
I do this for fun, like us guys on the other end of things. It's for the love of the music.
Well, we need you guys.
Well, thank you.
We need you guys. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for including me.
I was at a concert last night with my wife. We went to see Volbeat and Hailstorm at the local amphitheater by us. And we were fortunate enough to get on the guest list through Volbeat because I interviewed their drummer. And I met the press agent that set me up, and he said it best. He said, you know what, Lance? He said, it's an ecosystem. We all need each other. The artists need me,
yes,
because I have to put the press release to support, to promote their album or their tour. We need guys like you to interview them. So you're helping us to spread the word to buy the albums, and you guys want to build your brand and have fun interviewing rock stars. We all need each other equally.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody that doesn't remember or know that, or they forget, they need to wake up. I absolutely believe I subscribe to that. Absolutely. High voltage. Look at that. I'm looking behind you.
It's a screensaver, but it's actually my the wall on the other side of my man cave that I work out of, and that was a high voltage festival, and all my rock and roll memorabilia, and then some for the guys I've met through the years and the stories
High
to go with it.
in the UK.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, bro!
Were you on that show?
There. I played there. Yeah. With Lizzy, absolutely. Yeah,
I think that was. Let me look at the poster. I think you were on that. Yeah, I think you may have been on that show. I don't remember that for sure. But
yeah.
Marco, let's talk a little bit about.
There's a live album that we did with him this year. High Voltage. Look it up. Let me know what you find. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I have a lot of questions for you, and I think you have some good stories. But before we go back to the beginning, let's just finish off like the Joe Satriani Steve Vai tour.
What an amazing gig that was, bro! I can't say enough.
For a guy like you, you get the call to do that show or get booked on the tour. You know what? You've played with a lot of big bands, but they drop the set list on you and they say, okay, you're going to do 7 songs from each guy, a few covers, whatever, some new material. How do you go about like learning the catalog? Like, how does it come so easy for guys like you?
No, it doesn't come easy. I developed, and this is true. I'm being honest again, totally honest. I developed a taste. I have a thirst for learning stuff. And when it comes to music, I am so enthralled. I'm so in when somebody says, this is the catalog, learn this. I go in, for hours. And I write my notes, I write my charts, my cheat things. But I'm at my best when I spend time with the music and I learn from a distance to get into the composer's head, how they feel, the colors, who they are, because if you really pay attention, this is a little deep, but the music talks a lot about who they are and where they come from. And I got chills right now because I met Joe. He called me, we had a meeting, and he was telling me about the plans to get a band together with Steve and all that. And I said, well, I'm flattered for you to consider me. I really think they were going to check out some other cats, and then maybe they did. But then I get a call from the manager a few days later, says, yeah, we want you to be part of this. This is great. I asked for a set list, and the set list starts coming in and out and all that. But beyond that, I got into their catalog. I just wanted to know who Joe Satriani was, because it's vast. You can imagine how many albums, how much music. And I learned so much about it. And I learned about him as a songwriter, as a guitar player, who was, I call them trailblazers because that's who they are, man. They just, if there was any boundaries, they went, oh, and they kept going and they kept going and they jumped the fence and they took it to another. And it's beautiful. I'm getting chills again because that's a sign of a creative mind, when you're at your fullest, man, that you just go, just no boundaries. And, and Vi, Steve, same. So when I got into their music, I learned so much. My vocabulary expanded. It's like taking a new class, a French class, if you will. You learn another language. And so now I learned the language of Steve Vai and the language of Joe Satriani, and the fact that they wanted me to sing a little bit. I wasn't prepared for that. It flattered me, and I'm like, well, I got to step up. And it took a minute. To emulate or to try to sound like somebody else. One thing that's happened to me as a singer as I've gotten older, I've learned to sing how I sing, if that means anything. In other words, I can do a cover, but I will take it somewhere else because I want to feel the lyrics. I want to feel the melody. And when you start emulating or try to copy, that's what you're doing. You're in the head. You're not in the lyrics. You're not in the heart, in the passion. I think music is about that. So it was great, man. I just put a lot of time, a lot of elbow grease, what we call elbow grease. And I have charts. I still have them. And I started putting the charts aside. And all of a sudden, to my surprise, wow, my memory cells are there. they're still working because he stimulates them with something that's interesting to you, you know? So the whole experience has been a great, and then playing, you know, with Kenny and Peter, Pete Thorne, amazing. I mean, the whole setup, the crew was amazing, all the way from the players to the management to the crew, tour manager and the guys that were taking care of us were just amazing. It's like a big family, man. It's a band of gypsies. That's where Hendrix got it.
That's
because we travel from city to city and we plant our roots for a few days, sometimes one day, and sometimes we don't even plant any roots. We're floating, we do the gig, and then we go, you know, band of gypsies, and it's very cool. I really, between you and me and the rest of your listeners, I felt really confident that musically I could really take care of business, if you know what I mean. I felt like, wow, it's very cool because this music is it's deep. It's very deep. And to be able to pull it off, I went, okay, I'm okay. I'm in good shape as long as I do the work. Very important. And then you have the other thing, which is very important. You do your work at home, you learn it, you go to the first rehearsal, you have 1 day, 2 days rough, and then a full-on rehearsal start in London. And now you're dealing with in-ear monitors, full production, lighting, text, music, the set changes. And, I mean, there's a lot of turns and twists, and you got to learn to navigate that because ultimately it's about the show, about the fans. What's going to be the best for the show to deliver their virtuoso cats, man, to deliver their virtuosity in the best light possible and to support that. That's what it was, you know? So I felt really good, man. I felt like we accomplished something, and I might be all wrong. They might be talking to another cat now, but my picture, I walked away with a glass half full, actually overwhelmingly full. I was spilling, if that says anything about the whole experience. So
I'm sure it was good. I hope that comes to the States because I would love to see that. But, you know, Marco, just thinking about everything, your kind of your philosophy on life. And I think, you know, here I am thinking, wow, this guy's been traveling for months. He's away from home, right? Yet you've been sober for decades. You're spiritual. You obviously you like to learn, right? So, you know, life is good, and you're sitting in these hotel rooms, maybe granted by yourself, but if you got a project to pull apart, you know, learn songs, whatever it is, learn a body of work, it sounds like that becomes in a way like one of those things you're fighting for, right? Because sobriety is forever. Like you got to go to your higher power, and your higher power comes from other ways, right? It's sources, not just you don't get done, right? It's just you don't get sober. You got to work at every single day. But it sounds like you're the glass half full attitude.
Yes, abstinence is the answer for me. Even though when I'm tempted, I just don't. And I get invited. I go to these amazing restaurants with amazing people, and they open a bottle of, you know, that's worth $600, $700, and they go, here's a sip. And I can't. I have to pass. Thank you. And I have to sometimes explain myself. I've learned to enjoy life without it. And I really do. I really, really do. So, I'm in a good place, bro. You found me in a good day.
That's good. Well, I want to go back and do some of your important parts of your back history. So, I was a big Black Sabbath fan, still am, of course. And I remember when I had heard in the late 80s that Bill Ward was putting out a solo album, I said, oh, you know, I got to get to the record store. I got to buy that CD. And Marco, I still have the original pressing of that CD, which is pretty tough to find. Pretty tough to find. Is. Bill Ward won Ward along the way. And I always remember, I'm like, well, who played on this album? And then you look down the members of that played on the album, so many people. But in the photos, and I think I could be correct, but I think you're in the photos, right? Are you in the photos?
I am.
So how did you get involved with this whole thing? How'd you get involved with Bill Ward?
Well, Bill Ward, you know, we belong to the anonymity is one of the principles in our brotherhood. But I think it's okay. I've been talking about it, but we met in a 12-step meeting. I was getting sober. He was getting sober. And I know Ozzy was trying, everybody was trying to get sober back in this time, you know. And I got lucky. I met him at a meeting, and it was a musician meeting in California, Newport Beach. And so I go to the meeting, and there'd be a few other celebrities, people we know in the business and all that. So we had that in common. And one meeting after, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5, I went over to, we share in these rooms, meaning we open up, we tell about where we're at. We share our experience, strength, and hope with people, or our confusion or fears or insecurity or whatever, because you can imagine you go through all this constantly. So I went over to say thank you for sharing, because I felt the same way. And then, by the way, he told me, you're a bass player, right? I've heard about you. In confidence, I've been working on my solo album, my first, and I'm a little nervous about it, to say the least. And I would love it. I'm trying to surround myself with sober people. I would love it if you had the time to come and hear it. And I said, absolutely. So, well, long story short, we set an appointment for a week later. It's Chameleon Records. And a few days before, he got in touch. He said, by the way, bring your bass, if you can. And I'm being honest. At that point, I didn't own an instrument. I didn't own a musical instrument. I was so out of the business because things have gotten so heavy, out of control, that I was willing to do whatever it took to stay sober. And it was suggested for me not to go back in the business, because it's a dangerous place, tempting and all that. So I went and bought a bass at a local pawn shop for nothing. And I came in and I tweaked it, did whatever. I went into the studio, and he started playing the tracks. And then, to my surprise, he's saying, well, this is so-and-so, and this is, and that's Jack Bruce, by the way, on bass. Okay, whoa, okay. He's very humble, very unassuming, down to earth. He was another sober cat talking to another sober cat, sharing our toys, if you will. And so played bass on that one, and this is a drummer, and that, I could go down the list. You know the names, a lot of names, including Ozzy. There's a few tracks that I'm not happy with. I'm a bass. The bass parts would you be interested in? Did you bring your bass? Yeah, you brought it. Plugged it in. He would sing me the parts, and I would play them and record it. And I ended up on, I don't know how many tracks, to be honest, to this day, 4 or 5 tracks. So there it was. And all of a sudden, it gets released. It gets all the press in the world, as you can imagine, marketed, blew up. And little old me, I'm in there somewhere. And next thing you know, he calls me and says, I want a band. I want to be able to play and tour this album. Are you interested? Absolutely, yes. So we started rehearsing. We did the photo shoot. He was so cool, man. He knew that I didn't have a lot of money then. I was doing construction and just trying to keep my life together. And he came up with a budget to buy clothing for us to take a photo shoot, for the photo shoot and all that. I still have all that stuff. But so long story short, that's what it was. And then as things would have it, we're talking about 90, 91 maybe. Grunge was around the corner, and the label started folding. The budget changed. Everything fell apart. And then the next thing you know, I couldn't get in touch with him or something. We disconnected. Because of that, I started getting a lot of calls. The calls started happening for me, so I was back in the business in a sober way. And so that was like my calling card, saying, hey, here I am, I'm back, I'm sober, I'm responsible now, you can hire me, I will show up on time, maybe a few minutes before, and I'll do my homework, and I'll smile pretty, and I'll bring some good stuff for you. So that's what it was, pretty much. So that got me back in the business, and I started getting a bunch of calls after that.
Well, probably the big next one in your career, and this is an important one, was your relationship with John Sykes and Blue Murder.
Yes.
So you were part of that revamped lineup. And you recorded Nothing But Trouble, but then John, this was in the 90s or so, and even into some of the 2000s. But John he put out 4 or 5 solo albums, some live albums,
More than that, yeah.
And I'll tell you this, Marco. One of who I call a friend now, his name is Damian Collodi. He's a filmmaker. He just released a 2-part documentary on John's life, and it got endorsed. His name is Damian Collodi. He put it. It's about.
Do you have a copy of that? Send it to me, please. I want to see it.
I will send you the links. It covers his career from the beginning all the way to his death. He even has the endorsement of John's brother on this thing. But Damian did a fascinating job on this. You're, of course, featured on this. And he was excited that I was going to be talking to you. So maybe, my question is, how did, maybe more importantly than just getting connected with John, am I accurate in saying that you kind of became friends outside of the music and you were kind of his right-hand man for the next decade or so?
Yeah. No, I wish that would have been true. He heard about me back in the day. I can't remember the year. It's a bit of a blur, to be honest. But when the Blue Murder album came out, of course, everybody knew about John and Whitesnake and Lizzy in the business. I was doing a lot of fusion jazz in those days. I was searching for music, higher levels of musicality, whatever. Wanted to grow, and the Jaco fretless thing was going bananas. So I was playing fretless exclusively, only fretless. And I had a Latin jazz funk trio that kind of got popular in the Valley in LA. We would play this little club La Valie every Tuesday night. And I mean, the word got out. Whatever we were doing something that was interesting, that was outside the box. It was so eclectic that people were digging it. We were just having fun. We never rehearsed. It was just one of those things. People started showing up, and I could drop names. People like Sheila E. Sheila E. would come and play with us. Shaka Khan would come and sit in with us. David Lee Roth came in to audition me. Nugent came in. David Coverdale came in to his little club, and so on and so forth. Give you an idea. So John, after the first album, which I was a big fan of, still am, Tony, Franklin, and Carmine. That album was just all the complete thing. It was just the sound, the songs, the mix, the production, the singing, the playing, the bass tone. I mean, all of it was just incredible. So I became a fan. I was playing a set, and you can't miss John. John walks in, he's got the blonde, hair, great looking cat with his wife, Jennifer. And this other cat I didn't really know. I wasn't familiar with it, but it was Tommy Osteen, a drummer. Also a great looking cat. So these guys come in. It's a little club. You can't help it but to, notice them. Everybody noticed. And I saw people going after him to talk to him and all that. So I finished my set. He came over and tried to introduce himself. He says, "How you doing? I'm Marco. I'm John Sykes. I know you are, man. A big fan." And he just cut to the chase. He said, "Listen, I heard about you through the grapevine. I'm looking for a fretless bass player that can sing. Again, BVs. And Tony is no longer working with me, Tony Franklin. So would you be interested?" I said, "Absolutely." It took me half a second. "Absolutely. Can you come to the studio again next week or whatever?" And he lived in Northridge. And I came in and we hit it off, man. It was just one of those kindred spirit thing. We connected in so many ways. He was a father. He had kids. I was a father. I had kids. He was a very passionate guy about everything, food and love and music. And obviously I had a lot of respect for him. So I had him in a little bit of a pedestal there. And he really got a kick out of it. He always slapped me out of it, So we started working. And before you know it, I'm on the road and we're going to Japan on this Nothing But Trouble album. And again, to my surprise, because you never know what's going on in Japan, man. This was such a massive release. I mean, John was huge, massive. We couldn't go out anywhere. I'm talking hundreds of fans following you, going bananas. I'm going, wow, this is cool. I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed John. I dug him as a person, as a father, as a husband, the whole thing. But also, I love the fact that I got to play my fretless, because in those days, that was my passion. And he was one of the only guys that I came across that would insist on you playing the fretless. So I did. So I was very happy, man. And then as things would have it, he got invited to put the Thin Lizzy together by Udo in Japan. And, I might be calling you for that. Would you be interested? I said, yes, absolutely. So it did happen. He called, says, Marco, can you hear that? That's my wife calling. Can you hear it? No, I'm good. Okay. So he called me, says, the guys are coming in. There's a tour for us to Japan that Udo is doing. And we need a bass player. And I put your name in there because I think you're playing great. Da, da, da. And so I went in there, Third Encore in the Valley, famous rehearsal place. And Scott Gorham was there. Brian Downey was there. Darren Wharton. It was the Thunder and Lightning lineup minus Phil, of course. So I walk in, and again, I'll say this, man, I did a lot of homework, a lot. I not only, they sent me a rough set list of 30, 35 songs. And not only did I do that work, but I got my hands, back in the day, there was Tower Records, and, I'd go there and get all the VHS, everything I could get my hands on about Thin Lizzy, video, audio, the whole thing. And I started getting into it. And again, I was pleasantly surprised. The catalog, the songs, the poetry, the singing, the bass playing, all of it, it was like insane. It was going to school again, I call it. And so I went in there and I passed the audition, obviously, and Scott comes up to me after a couple hours and says, well, you want to go to Japan? I said, yeah. So that was it. We went to Japan. I remember those rehearsals were very long because I think we did a 3-hour set. We try to include as much of the catalog as possible, and they have a vast one, and so we did like 3 shows. There's an album, a live album that was recorded then, and it was beautiful production wise because we were paying tribute to Phil. There was film behind us, and it was very cool. I was hoping that production would travel. As things would have it, the rest of the world got wind of it, and then we started getting invited to go here, go there. And that's 22 something years later. I was still part of it, in and out, but I was still there. And it was a great ride. And that's solely because of John. John put me in there. And then I hit it off with the guys. I mean, I got along really well. We're still friends. I talk to Scott Gorham often. And so speaking of that, there's something cooking for January 4th in Dublin. Pretty big. And so stand by for some announcements. It's going to go out at the social media thing soon. It should be exciting. A lot of big names. And again, we'll be paying tribute to Phil. And so I'm looking forward to that one. It's confirmed.
Okay,
January
excellent.
4th. Yeah.
All right, that sounds good.
So that was John.
Mark. Well, Marco, before we get off of John, I will say there was a bar in New Jersey called the Birch Hill Nightclub when you guys came out after that live album came out. I was at that show. I think it was around 2002, 2003. I don't remember the year, but I know you were at that show. And I tried to catch all those shows. And I go, you were in some of them, out some of them. Black Star Riders opening up for Judas Priest. I don't remember, but it was just great to see that legacy.
In the US, I did, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, though, were you still in communication with John up until the time of his death, or did you stay in touch with him?
Yeah, John and we kind of started going in different directions because I started getting extremely busy. I mean, I go from one project to the next, an album to the next, traveling a lot. And he, I can't find the words to explain where his head was at, but he had enough of all the crap that you have to put up with, personalities and the dark side of the business, if you will. He's just like not interested. But we spoke pretty often about doing something. There was a few projects that were through me because they knew I was staying in touch with them. These projects came up and they were supposed to for us to do something together with Tommy and maybe Derek Sheradian. And they almost got together there a couple of times, but he just wasn't into the thing anymore. You know, he lost it. I think he got burned one too many times, and he took it very deeply, you know, emotionally. He couldn't navigate it. You'd have to, this business is funny. It's really funny, Lance. I mean, the things that happen to you, it would blow your mind if I could tell you some of these dark stories that happened to me. And you have to just shake it off and say, well, what do I want to still be in it? Do I still get a kick out of playing music? Yes, I do. Am I going to let these bad influences, be it these bad people, kind of take me off track? No, this is my life. I'm going to continue. And I'm glad I did. But he got to that point. He got to the point where he had enough. And we started talking, and he would cancel on me. I wanted to go see him. I found out why. He never told me. He told me he was sick, but he never told me what he had 2 years before, until one time he said, it's the C word, Marco. And I'm going, oh, and I froze. You know, what are you going to say? And he really didn't want to talk about it. I'll be honest. He just didn't want to at all. He didn't want it to come into the conversation at all. So I respected that. So we started hanging out, talking, and making each other laugh, sharing a few funny moments here and there. That was cool. But October, I spoke to him. I was on my way on tour, and for the first time, he sounded very optimistic. He's like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. And then in November, I got a text. I still have it, and left a voicemail saying, I've got some music I want you to play on, man, when you get back. I say, okay. I'm spending Christmas, the holidays in Europe with my family. I come back January 10th. And a few days before, we're flying back, and I'm texting him. I said, John, because I was excited at the thought of maybe something could happen. And I was texting, and I never got anything back for 2 or 3 days. No reply. The 10th. A week before NAMM show, I get a call from his son, from James, saying, Marco, this is James Sykes. James, how the hell? I hadn't talked to him in 10 years, 12 years. So what's going on? Well, my father wanted us to call you directly, let you know that before we announce it to the media, that he passed away. Whoa. I just freaked, man. My wife came there. You all right? I was just shaking, and totally unexpected. So the long story short is that he underplayed how sick he really was. And the times that he canceled on me, I understand probably what happened. He didn't want anybody to see him or whatever, using a bad place. I mean, it's like, that's heavy stuff, man. But, you know, for the first time in a long time, 5, 6, 7 years, I felt like he was being optimistic and hopeful. And then I hear a lot of stories, a lot of private stuff that I won't share with you here, but it just was not going to go down the way everybody wanted him to go down. He just went out his own way, the way he wanted to go, and that was it. You know, you do, Lance? What would I do? I don't know, man. If I'm told I've got 3, 4, 5 months or a year, what do I do? I talked to a lot of friends about it. I said, you know what I would do? I would max out all my credit cards, fly all my relatives, all my friends to an island somewhere, and have a blast for a week. All expenses paid, inclusive, everything included. Yeah. And then who's going to pay the bill? I'm not.
I don't know. You don't worry about it, right? Well, I'm sorry for your loss, Marco. He was a good collaborator and a good friend, but thank you for opening up and sharing those stories. Cool. So we could go on and on and on. I mean, you have so many people you played for.
He was definitely.
But I think of a guy like Ted Nugent. Go ahead. Yeah, I was saying. Go ahead, finish your story.
No, I was going to say about John. He was one of those guys that was, there's a handful of cats that I've met through the years that are, I mean, they exude their talent. There's so much talent there. And by the same token, they're extremely sensible and very sensitive people. They're very sensitive. And sometimes life in this business can throw some things at you. And if you don't know how to navigate that's what happened to John, sadly. But his body of work speaks for itself. And, right now, I don't know any guitar players that I work with or that I know of that weren't inspired or influenced by him in one way or another. Same thing with Ted. I mean, these cats, I introduced them. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I hooked him up with Ted because I was touring with Ted and working with John. I said, you guys should meet each other, man. And I think they did. They finally hooked up. Same cats, same passionate and very strong. The alphas of our group, big time leaders but at the same time extremely creative and amazing people. But Ted, yeah, man, great time with Ted too.
I saw a lot of those tours back in the day. I think it was you with Tommy Aldridge, and then Tommy Clufetos was in there a bit. But I just remember I saw him in the theater shows, and then of course you went on the first Kiss farewell tour in 2000. But
I'm impressed. Marco, oh my gosh!
Yeah, I was at the Metal Mayhem Arena in Jersey.
How old were you? 18? How old are you? 18?
No, then let's see. In 2000, I was 30. So I'm 55 now. So I was 30 then. But I just remember those shows because Ted brought it down to the trio. That was around the time where Derek St. Holmes was gone. But that was another one of those ones where, Marco, you're up there playing just what the doctor ordered. Hey, baby, maybe Stranglehold. But I'm not going to lie. The fucking lineup was fucking killer, dude.
We were having such a good time. And as Ted would have it, he works really hard. Extremely hard. And he introduced me to another group of people, fan base, whatever you want to call it, his fan base. And it was wonderful. It was great, man. I met a lot of good people, made a lot of friends. Made a lot of friends in the CIA and the DEA and the Secret Service and all that. It's just great. These are great folks, man. God bless them. But and God bless Ted.
What about playing with you think of some of the others, you played with Whitesnake. I mean, that must have been a unique experience. You're talking about, let's say, guys with big rock and roll personalities, David Coverdale. Then you go into Journey a bit. You also had the offshoot project Soul Circus with Neil Schon. These are world-class players. So maybe comment a little bit on some of those experiences.
Well, Whitesnake, as you can imagine, was definitely another. I was getting close to another world. Globally, pretty massive, and he got the courage to kind of pursue my own thing just from watching him do his thing and what he was and how meticulous he was about the people who he worked with and how he selected people and the reason why. And amazing, man, one of my favorite singers of all time, always will be. That voice, it's just, forget it, So getting the call and invited me to his pad, and I flew up and spent the whole day with him. We had lunch and it was great pad, great conversation, but I couldn't get away with I couldn't get away from the fact that he was very curious about John. He was very curious about what John was doing. He knew I was working with John. And it's almost like he was interested in the possibility or something, very interested in the conversation about John. And of course, I've learned in the business, again, because I'm very lucky and very fortunate, I have nothing bad to say about anything or about anybody in the business, So it was really cool. And then we hit it off. Obviously, he invited me to be part of this project that was going to be called The Man on Blues. I have the cassettes and the Mob, M-O-B. And so we flew up and we started writing and recording and all that, and which ended up being the solo album. being Into the Light. Actually, he just reissued that album out. It's a great album. Really, really good. So that was my experience with David in the studio, and amazing. The magic, the voice, the whole thing. John has this inner facility with the voice, man, and the tone, and his lyrics, his emotions, he just puts himself into the song completely, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. But then he's got the tool, the gift of the voice that's just beautiful. We had a great time. Great time. Another learning experience. These are all learning experience for me, obviously. And when I talk about it, I reminisce, because you kind of take these things for granted when they're happening back to back. And, the call that I got from Joe, totally unexpected, Satriani. It's like, but these things are happening, Lance, constantly. I mean, still. And you would think, at this point in my career, that things would be slowing down. It's the opposite for me. It's like, at this point, I'm going to be 120, getting calls to participate, collaborate here and there, which is great. If I can walk. But my experience with David was amazing. Everything was really cool. We actually did try, and I will say, in my own little way, try to connect him with John. And it didn't work out, but it was very close. And that would have been wow, and then Neil Schon, another cat that I call him a friend. He's another unbelievable talent, guitar player, songwriter, and the leader of Journey, man, one of the biggest bands ever. We became friends too, creatively and all that. And he would be, you remember Rolodexes? I think when it came to bass players, I was on his Rolodex when it came to bass players. So I was honored and I was really cool to get those calls from him to do this and to do that. We did Soul Circus. I don't know if you ever got wind of that.
I saw one of the only Soul Circus shows at BB King's in New York City.
Oh my God!
I was at that one.
Wow.
Yeah,
You've seen a lot of shows, brother. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen thousands of shows. That's my thing, man. I go to shows. I talk to rock guys.
And Virgil, right? Donati.
Yep.
It was
Virgil Donati. That was a nice lineup and a good album and a cool show.
It was amazing, man. I was hoping that would fly a little harder, but as things would have it, it stopped. It ended. But so I stayed in touch with Neil. He stayed in touch with me, and he called me to participate in this Journey Through Time thing with Greg Raleigh and Dean. And that was amazing, of course, going back even further, the first Journey lineup. I was like in the thick of it going, so these things keep happening and I'm amazed. And when I talk about it, I go, that's right. I forgot about that one too. And I forgot about that one. I live in the moment, but, which is great. So when I do interviews like that, I'm reminiscing and I'm reminded, wow, that's right. I remember saying to Greg, I met him, what a sweet guy he is and talented and big heart, just a great human being, man. Nothing but great about that guy. He's cool. I remember saying, bro, I'm having a girl fan thing happening here because I used to hear you play with Santana way back in Mexico, man, your B3 and all that. This is odd chucks, so we got along really well and we actually recorded some things. There's an album that we did. It's in the can somewhere. I don't know if he's ever going to do something with it, but so we ended up doing the Journey Through Time. There was interest and we did a little run with that. As things would have it, business or whatever, it kind of blew up. So when we heard that Ross and Smith were out, Dean and I were thinking we're going to get the call, and we waited for the Journey thing. We waited, nothing happened, and then we hear that they announced Randy Jackson on bass, and Narda, Michael Walden on drums. And that made sense. Like, of course, Easter, they were part of the alumni and all that. So they announced that lineup. They're planning a tour, the whole thing. A year goes by, a year and a half, the pandemic, all that stuff was going on. And I'm in Copenhagen, finishing off what would be Viva La Rock album, I believe. No, New Direction. Because Viva La Rock was 18, this New Direction was 22, 23. And I'm finishing off the last vocal, trying to remember what song, Scream and Shout, I think. And I get a text like this. I'm in the vocal booth. I tell the engineers, can you hold on? He said, yeah. And I said, please get in touch as soon as possible, Neil Schon. I texted him. I said, bro, he said, where are you? I'm in Copenhagen. Oh, no, man. How long are you gone for? I'm coming home. I'm just finishing up. I'm going to be home in 2-3 days. Please call me. Very important. I said, what's going on? I'll tell you later, but call me. Really important. So long story short, I get home. I call him. I had gotten a call from him before, I got to say, for other situations, but for me to go into the studio for a Journey album. I won't get into it. It's another story. But let's just say they were having, something was going on. So I was just happy to get the call from somebody like that. That's all I want to say. I don't know politics stuff. So I called them. I said, yes, we can't find Randy. Randy, it's a no-show, and rehearsal start in 2 weeks. Are you interested? Can you help us out? I said, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So the rest is history. I came in, but I knew, and he knew that it was a temporary thing. We were waiting for Randy to come back. And so that's what happened. I did some amazing show footage. I think there's some video out there. The Lollapalooza thing is out there. And you can imagine playing, that catalog, man. Come on, talk about chills on stage. Sober. It's just on the beam, man. That's a high right there. You can imagine. That's a buzz. So I tap into that, and I'm addicted to that. So great experience. And, I got to meet Jonathan. He was a sweetheart. Kane, amazing. Dean and Narda, a great bunch of cats. Everybody was amazing. And of course, Arnell, killing it, singing. Great experience. Another one where I walked away having learned so much. So I keep putting it in my pocket, my experience pocket. Go, wow, ooh. So one of these days, I'm gonna write about it. Maybe people are talking to me more and more and more about it, just to share a few experiences and stories, if you will. The unfortunate thing is, what sells out there is controversial stuff, and I won't go there. I don't need to go there. If anything, I want to focus on the positive things that happen.
Outside of everything I've talked about, is there anything else that you think of your career and you go, yeah, that was a moment, that was a time?
Our Journey, I have to say, is on the top 3 or 4. That was an amazing experience, man. Journey was awesome. Central Park, where I heard it was live. On CNN, there was 100 million viewers at the time, and I didn't know about it, which I'm glad I didn't know about it. We played, we got off the stage, and we got in the car. Played at where were we? Long Island. Anyway, another venue that gig, and I was told, and I mean, my phone just started lighting up. Could imagine. That was big, great with Journey and participating there at that level. The Whitesnake, there's so many. And with Ted, so many, man. Then there's Lizzy playing in Dublin in front at his home, in front of thousands and thousands of people. And Filomena, his mom, coming over after the show, says, "Welcome home, son." And school, talk about emotional stuff. His mom coming over and saying, "You did a good job, Marco. Welcome home." Whoa. Shh.
That's a big one.
That's a big, so a lot of stuff like that keeps happening and I forget about it. Not that I take it for granted. I just don't want to live there. I'm just grateful, bro. That's all. And when the time comes for me to remember all these, I hope I can, because it's been a great journey. It's a great career I've had. Who would have thought, right? I just played a first chord, a C major, cling, and now I'm here.
Well, Marco, this has been fantastic. We could speak all day, and we'll have you on again. And I really appreciate you carving your time out on your schedule in Italy to speak to me this afternoon. But for more information on Marco Mendoza, head over to marcomendoza.com for all of his news, his tour dates, and all the links to his social media outlets. So, Marco, we appreciate everything today, these stories. So thank you. And for my guest today, Marco Mendoza, I'm Metal Walt, and this is Metal Mayhem ROC.
All right. Take care, Lance. See you soon.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.